Hey guys, Dr. Vic here, and excited to share with you guys current events going on. And there's a lot happening in the world, a lot happening in the United States. I mean, UK just literally, Boris came out and said no more mandates on anything, which was kind of a shock coming from the UK. I was glad to hear that. Some other countries now, I think it was Norway, Norway, Sweden. One of the two are promoting now exercise and nutrition instead of the mandates of the vaccines and the drugs. They're going, no, we need to exercise. It's been shown to prove. There's some new information coming out that was showing, that's not new, it's old, but it's getting circulated now, that back in 1918, when there was a Spanish flu around, there were actually, I forgot the guy's name, but he was actually teaching exercise because he believed that exercise would improve the immune system to help ward it off. And what happened was, is the people who did exercise got less sick compared to people who didn't. Something to it. A lot happening though, a lot going on. I mean, Illinois vaccine passports, another city that's doing that, and looking to push that along the way. So we're seeing more of this like totalitarianism happening. But there's, again, my job is to just share concepts and things from a health perspective of what you can do to really help yourself in the process. So a lot of people have gotten the depending where you live, but for the most part in America, I forgot what the percentages are right now. A lot of people have been getting the shot in some way, shape, or form. And whether you've had it or whether you didn't, this doesn't matter. What I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is two things that I've been taking since May of 2021, actually April, to help me in the process. And I'm just looking up so I make sure I get this name right. But there's two products, and I'll have them linked for you guys. And what these two things do is they can help with. So when you get when you get the vaccine, what ends up happening is you become a factory of producing spike proteins. Now the research shows, and it's been crystal clear, nobody knows. I know some people have an idea. I know there's chiropractors that do this too, and it's like we don't know. Nobody knows what the heck, how long that is producing. What we do know is that people shed the spike proteins. They actually are what it is. It's through the detox pathways of the body, through the skin, through the breath, things like that. And the body is trying to detox these things out. It's not normal. It's too much within the body. So we know this for a fact. And some of the most common side effects are people who will get like mental fog, lost the zest with life. They're tired, they're fatigued. Those are just some of the things. There's also can be some headaches and things along that nature. I know for me, it was actually starting to happen in March. I started getting mental fog. And I was like, what is going on? I don't get mental fog. This does not happen to me. And it was kind of alarming, and I was getting a little concerned. I started doing research, and I'm like, okay, it's got to be the spike proteins. It's just I've been around people who've been vaccinated, and so forth. I have patients who have chosen to get the vaccine, and being around them, and there's family members who've gotten the vaccine, and so it's like I'm feeling like it just feels like things are just becoming foggy, and it's weird. And so, long story short, I started to look at different things and go, okay, there has to be shedding of some sort. And I started doing research, started looking at some things, and there was evidence to show that. Found some research, early primitive stuff, and I'm like, it's got to be this, And so I started doing research on what can bind it, what can block it. I'm like, because I knew antibodies did that. So if you got COVID naturally on its own, you would end up having you'll get antibodies, and the antibodies will actually block the spike proteins. So it's good to get exposed to this. It actually blocks it for you. But I don't know if I had it or didn't. There's sometimes I think I may have, but who knows? So it's one of those things where if I had it, it's like no symptoms at all. But one of the things is I needed to understand, okay, what are other things we can do? And so I started hearing about some doctors talking about Suramin. And they said it may work. And I was like, man, Suramin, I got to look into this. And I started talking about it with patients after a few months for the brain benefits of what it can do. But then I came across what actually helps block the S proteins is an acid in these products called shikimic acid. And what it'll do is this is the acid that will actually bind to the spike proteins. And there's two things right now that you can utilize that can do just that. Now, why is this critical? Well, anyone who's gotten the shot or anyone who hasn't, and you're around people all the time, unless you're isolated in your own home, not being around anybody, you're exposed to these things. So it's very critical to be taking something to make sure you're binding that spike protein, neutralizing it, and your immune system in your body will expel it out and it's neutralized. And so The first product I'm going to share with you guys, which I first started doing, was pine needle tea. Okay, and this is, you can get Eastern pine needle tea. Real simple. It's going to be 3 pines or 5 pines. That's what comes off the branch. You can find them almost anywhere, and as long as there's 3 or 5 needles coming off, you are fine. You can take those, cut them, boil them, and the recipe is really simple. It's a 20 minutes. You cut them up and then you put them in boiling water for 20 minutes. Then you turn off the water and let them steep for another 20 minutes. After that, you have beautiful pine needle tea extract or pine needle tea. Now, for those who have the time to do that, make that. I used to. It was fun, but I wanted something a little quicker. Sometimes I'm just in the mindset of like, I want to get this right now. I don't want to have to go through this process. So what I did is that there's pine needle extract, and you can find the links in the below of which ones I use. You can get them off Amazon, and it's nice and easy because I literally put a little water in my mouth, squirt a couple droppers in there, and then just swallow, and then take a little like a chaser of water just to rinse it through. It doesn't taste bad. It's actually not bad at all, but it's just extracted version of it. And so this is one way you can do it. And I could tell you for a fact that when I do this, especially with the pine needles, I remember especially in April and May, it was hitting me harder. I was doing some of the tea, but I didn't have it. I ran out really quick, and I was ordering tea from like Bulgaria, the pine needles. What ended up happening was I was getting really mental fog, and then all of a sudden I had the tea one night, and I drank a nice cup and a half of it. And next thing you know, I could just feel like clouds, like the sun breaking through fog and just dissipating away. And I was like, all right, this is interesting. I've had colleagues of mine. When I was first doing this research, I was sharing it with my best friend and a couple of close friends and just saying, hey, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm doing. Here's the research. Anything you might find or let me know that we can add to this. I want to start, in 3 to 6 months, I want to be sharing this with patients. And so he was sharing the information I shared with him to a couple of colleagues of ours. And then they reached out to me later thanking me. One had menses issues that were showing up out of nowhere and took the tea. And within the next menses cycle, she was back to normal. And she had a couple of them in a row. And then I had another colleague who had severe mental fog and fatigue and didn't understand what was going on. She was tired a lot, very just down, didn't understand what was happening. She heard I was talking about it and from my one buddy. And so she took it. Next day messages me and says, I got my life back. Thank you so much. And so it's a powerful tool that you can use. And whether you've had the shot or not, I highly recommend you want to be taking something like this. And like I said, you can share the links in there. And you want to make sure that you're okay with taking it. Like if you're pregnant, you can't take pine needle tea extract. There are some things you want to make sure you look into before doing that. And certain conditions ward from not taking it. And then the second one, though, is something called Staranese Extract. Okay, again, this has a shikimic acid of around 9-10%, pretty nice and high. So that's going to be good to bind to the S proteins. I like it. It has actually a nice flavor. I don't have to use as much. I got an organic one off Amazon, and it does the trick. And again, it's real simple. Put it in the mouth every single day. You're good to go. You move forward. It's binding those S proteins. Your body can now process those things out and so much more. And I've been doing these things on and on and on. And it's amazing how it just will keep my mind comes back. Like I have a fresher, sharper mind. I keep doing it because it's not like it's instantly working. Just because the symptoms dissipate doesn't, like the mental fog. There's still this mental thing I'm trying to work through to get my mind back to being extremely sharp like it was. And so there's still some work. And the reason why, what we know right now is that this S protein, the spike proteins, they bind and accumulate in lungs, in brain, in ovaries, in heart. So those are the 4 organs right now, what we know. You're starting to hear, here's the example. Look at the Australian Open. I think it's called the Australia Open, tennis. And you can look and see, look how there was 4 athletes already who just collapsed right on the ground. No reason why. And there's some media trying to push this away. I've talked about there's soccer players. I think there's over 80 of them now who've collapsed and died or had complications of the heart. And people say we can't blame the vaccine, and I'm saying I'm not here to blame the vaccine per se. Spike proteins, yes. But at the same token, what we also know, though, is, and what we believe right now, what science is coming through sharing, is that why is it happening to athletes? And they believe that the over circulation, they circulate more of those spike proteins through the blood, that it gets over highly concentrated, and it actually creates a thickening, and it can cause a lot of heart issues, myocarditis, heart damage, inflammation of the heart, which means you have damage to the heart, and can lead to those kind of things that are happening. So it's interesting times where we're at, but you can tell there's a lot of things. I don't know if I was sharing with you guys or not, or whether this was in my little Cairo group that I have, but I was sharing that, like I was talking about, like some people were getting worried about work and some things like that. And I kept saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Supreme Court's going to shut things down. Don't worry. Once things get to the Supreme Court, they will shut things down. And they are. So a new rule just happened where Supreme Court just shut down Biden's vaccine mandate for private companies to, over 100 or more to vaccinate their employees. That has been shut down. And right now, supposedly, word is coming around that certain states are following suit. Some aren't; they're going to continue with their own rules, and some are like, "Well, this is down, so and we're just going to continue to move forward with other things. We'll just not allow it." And I heard Illinois is one of those, which is great to hear if you live in Illinois. And I only know this because I've been working closely with a couple people, looking at some documents that their companies were enforcing them to, take the shot or not, and religious exemptions and all this stuff. And it's interesting on the questionnaire. So this is good. Some things are happening. So there's a lot of good. There's a lot of hope out there, and I hope I've been trying to share that a little bit with you guys. I try to uplift you. I don't want to get too much into the politics of things or what happens, but I will report what I hear. So you guys are just getting a little bit of a gist of this, so you know where we're at, what's happening, what's going on, and so forth. I think it's valuable. I think it's good to know, and I think it's good to just keep an eye on things. And as much as I'm hearing from different groups, different lawyer groups, and different other people that I communicate with, I will share that with you guys. So people who are part of my tribes, I make sure that they know some way, shape, or form. And so things are on the move, and it's one of the things, like Omicron is not what it's supposed to be. It's actually like a cold. And the media is trying to defend that as much as possible. But have no fear, guys. I mean, it's one of these things where I think we're coming to a point where I don't know what story they can use next besides a new virus. But the COVID, all the natural remedies, all those things that are out there, everything that I've shared before, highly recommend go back and listening to them, because there are so many good things out of there that you can use, and there's more and more research coming out. I could definitely go down the research side for you guys and share a lot more remedies. But today, this month, I really wanted to make sure that I shared these two things that are potent for you guys. Like I said, I've been using them since almost a year now, and it works wonders. It helps out massively. It has definitely helped me from a mental state. And I remember in December, I was staying at my parents' while I was transitioning to Tennessee, coming back and forth. And it was one of the things where I was around a lot more people that have gotten the shot, because I was around more family members and stuff. And I was taking needle extract as much as I can to combat it as much as possible. Because there was times I can get up at 4 a.m, no problem. And I was like consistent for 2-3 weeks. And then all of a sudden it was getting harder to wake up. Like I didn't want to. And that's not me. And I was like, man, what's going on? So I started taking more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, like a week later, I was wanting to get up early again. And I was like, all right, I'm coming back around here. My body. And somebody say, well, how can that be? Well, I don't have any evidence or science to prove that. I'm only using myself as an example. So that's not really scientific or showing patterns of science and so forth. But what I do know, though, is that if my body's more stressed, then all of a sudden I'm going to need more time to heal and repair. And that makes more sense why my sleep needed to be longer and deeper. So I digress, but one thing I do want to share, it's a little away from COVID. Like I said, I'm going to eventually try to move away from this. I know it's been a hot topic of talking since I started this, but a new thing that just came out that I heard they're just turning on and is the 5G. They just Verizon and I think AT&T, their towers, they turned on the 5G. And so if you've been feeling fatigue, a little tired, a little drained, most likely from that, this is so detrimental to health. I won't get into it today. I'll probably next month. I want to see what's going on before I say anything to the full degree. Literally, I just found this out yesterday. So, but from the release of this. But long story short, one of the things that are coming out is the airline industry. Now, they have a lot of money. They have a lot of power. So all the scientists, there's over 150,000 scientists who are against 5G and saying how it's going to destroy health, mess with birds. It's going to harm nature in so many different ways. We're going to see so many issues with this. But unfortunately, people want speed fast on their phones. And so that's what the demand of the market's going to be. And that's where it's going to kind of go. But major airlines have come out and said, you can't have those things within a certain radius with airplanes because it's messing with their, I don't want to say GPS. There's some other special name to it, but it's disrupting their signal. And so the airlines are highly they've been reaching out to Biden and different organizations to put an end to it, and not an end to 5G, but to somehow mitigate it or change it around. And so I look and I'm like, man, we need more people to look and say, well, if that's doing that to airplanes and disrupting their signaling, what does that do to our bodies and our signaling and our health? Okay. So most likely, next month, I'm going to dive into, if you guys are interested, if you guys want, let me know in the comments. I'm going to discuss and talk about EMFs and how you can protect yourself, especially 5G. There is a product I have in my house. I got it almost a year ago, and I've always had some protective EMF stuff in my house, but this one, I was looking for a new one because I needed something that protected off 5G. And I knew that 5G was going to be rolled out, and I wanted something that blocked it in some way, shape, or form, so that the negative effects of those frequencies wouldn't affect me, my wife, my family. And so there are products out there, and I will discuss those. I will share with you guys with them. There's a few different ones that I'll break down. I'll talk about wearable products. I'll talk about wrist products you can do, and phone products and all that kind of stuff. Because I think right now, the way things are going, I think this is something that needs to get out there and get out there immediately. So I will share with you guys my top picks, based on my research of what I have done, what I do use personally, so you guys know exactly what I use personally. So that way you can help protect yourself and your family, and we can definitely minimize the negative effects of the stuff. I mean, 5G is great for a lot of things. I mean, I love to have faster speed. I can do a lot more things. But at the same token, I mean, I'm mostly on Wi-Fi anyhow, so I don't really need 5G. But at the same token, the negative effects. I mean, there were studies done a couple of years ago, where they threw 5G out there and birds were just falling from the sky, or they were going in opposite directions where they're supposed to go. I mean, this is what kind of disruption it causes on nature. And so whether you're for 5G or not, that's not the argument I'm creating. Like I said, I think having faster speeds are awesome. I'm all for it. But if we're going to cause health to humans and cause disruption into the natural ecosystem of nature and birds and other individuals' health and so forth, it's not worth it. Let's figure out something else. There's other ways we can do things. And so that's my little 2 cents I have. But and that's what I got for you guys. I know there's a little bit of here and there I'm sharing, and I wanted to really hip into the pine needle tea extract, or pine needle tea, and the Staranese. I think that's going to be something that's going to be needed as more time goes on, especially you live in an area or you're around people who do get the shot, get the boosters and so forth. You're going to want to be doing, if you've taken all those things yourself, this is something you want to make sure you're doing. You got to get those S proteins, spike proteins out of there, get the body to expel them out. The only beautiful thing is you neutralize them. So you're not shedding on where someone else can take them on. You are neutralizing them because they get blocked from the shikimic acid. And then from there, they just get neutralized and get cleansed out. So that's what I got. Any questions you have, please let me know. And I look forward to, I'll be releasing the last part for tier 2 next week. So let's take a look out for that. And as always, appreciate you guys. We'll be chatting soon.